Your thoughts are already building something. Right now, as you listen to this, a structure is taking shape in the invisible, assembled by the quality of your attention, the clarity of your mental image, the conviction behind your inner state. Charles Haanel wrote the Master Key System over a century ago, and its central claim still unsettles people. Thinking is a creative act with material consequences. By the end of this, you'll understand why that claim holds up, and why most people unknowingly use this power against themselves every single day. Haanel didn't frame thought as preparation for action. He framed thought as the action itself. The mind, in his system, operates directly upon what he called universal substance, the raw material from which all form emerges. You shape it the way a sculptor shapes clay, except your chisel is attention and your studio is consciousness. Every time you hold a clear mental image with feeling and conviction, you're pressing into that substance. You're giving it instructions. This sounds abstract until you watch it work in your own life. Think about the last time you worried intensely about something for days. The tightness in your chest. The rehearsal of worst-case outcomes. And then, almost eerily, circumstances arrange themselves to confirm exactly what you feared. You probably called it coincidence. Haanel would call it creation. The same mechanism that produced that unwanted result is the one you can redirect deliberately. So why does the system insist that thought produces tangible results from invisible causes? Because Haanel understood something that most self-help frameworks still miss. The visible world is an effect. Always. The cause is always invisible. Always mental. A building exists because an architect held its image in mind before a single brick was laid. A business exists because someone conceived of a service before a single customer appeared. The physical manifestation is the last step in a chain that begins with thought, every time. But here's where most readers of the Master Key System stumble. They read about universal substance and treat it like a vending machine. Insert thought, receive result. Haanel was far more demanding than that. He dedicated 24 weeks of exercises to training the mind. Week after week of sitting still, controlling attention, building the mental muscle required to hold a single image without distraction. He knew something uncomfortable. Most people can barely think for 30 seconds without their minds scattering like pigeons. Try it yourself. Close your eyes after this sentence and hold one image, just one, for 60 seconds without interruption. Your keys, a red door, anything simple. Most people discover their mind wanders within 10 seconds. That wandering is the gap between wishing and creating. Haanel's weekly exercises exist to close it. The system's fifth lesson introduces a principle that changes everything once you absorb it. Haanel writes that the mind is creative and that conditions, environment, and all experiences in life are the result of habitual thinking, habitual. The word carries enormous weight. A single hopeful thought on Tuesday morning doesn't override years of anxious repetition. Your habitual mental atmosphere, the default frequency your mind returns to when you stop paying attention, that's what shapes your world. One intentional session of visualization followed by 16 hours of doubt produces the doubt. The math is ruthless. This is where the inner work gets real. Changing your habitual thinking requires the kind of discipline that most people reserve for physical training. You wouldn't expect a single gym session to transform your body. Haanel asks for the same patience with your mind. Sit with your ideal. Feel it as present. Return to it when you drift. Do this daily, weekly, for months. The substance responds to sustained impression, the way wax responds to a seal pressed firmly and held. A light tap leaves nothing. And the substance itself, what is it? Haanel describes it as omnipresent, responsive, and intelligent. It permeates everything. Your body, the air around you, the space between stars. He saw no separation between mind and matter, only different densities of the same fundamental energy. When you think, you send a vibration into this field. The vibration attracts corresponding conditions the way a tuning fork activates another fork across the room. Resonance. Your mental state is always broadcasting, and the universe is always answering. Critics within spiritual traditions sometimes push back on this. They ask, does this mean suffering is always self-created? Does a child's illness trace back to thought? Haanel's framework operates at the level of principle, the way gravity operates as principle. Gravity doesn't make moral judgments. It pulls everything downward equally. The creative law of mind works the same way. It responds to the pattern of thought regardless of whether the thinker is conscious of the pattern. This is precisely why Hanel dedicated so much of the system to becoming conscious. Awareness of the law is the first step towards using it deliberately, rather than being used by it unconsciously. The 7th week introduces concentration as the mechanism through which thought gains power. Scattered light illuminates a room. Focused light cuts through steel. The same energy, different concentration. Your mind works identically. A vague wish for more money or better health illuminates nothing. A precise, vivid, emotionally charged image of a specific outcome, held with the conviction that it already exists in the invisible, that cuts through resistance like a laser. Hanel gives a striking instruction in the later lessons. He tells the student to think of themselves as a channel through which universal mind expresses itself. You are the inlet, and the outlet is your thought made manifest. The degree to which you open that channel determines what flows through. Fear constricts it. Doubt narrows it. Clarity and calm conviction open it wide. Your job is to get out of the way, to stop introducing static into the signal. This creates a paradox that trips up almost every student. You must hold the image with intensity and conviction while simultaneously releasing attachment to how and when it appears. Grip too tightly and you introduce the very tension that blocks the flow. Hold too loosely and the image never impresses deeply enough upon the substance. The sweet spot lives in a state Hanel calls idealization, where the image is so real in your mind that you feel the way you'd feel if it were already physical. You're living in the end without grasping for it. Think about what that actually requires of you on a Tuesday afternoon when your bank account contradicts your vision. When someone asks how things are going and the visible evidence says badly, Hanel's system asks you to answer from the invisible. To maintain the inner state of the fulfilled wish while the outer world still reflects old patterns, that gap between the inner reality you're building and the outer reality you're still experiencing, that gap is the furnace. Staying in is the work. The substance responds to the sustained state. Hanel is explicit about this. The world within creates the world without. He writes it as law, the way a physicist writes equations, with certainty that the relationship holds regardless of whether you believe in it. Your belief doesn't activate the law. Your belief aligns you with it. The law was operating before you picked up the book. It was operating when you were 7 years old, absorbing the mental atmosphere of your household, building beliefs about scarcity or abundance that still shape your financial ceiling today. Which means the master key system is ultimately a manual for sovereignty. Mental sovereignty. Hanel is telling you that the throne of your life sits inside your own mind, and most people have abdicated it. They've handed creative authority to their environment, their past, their social conditioning. Every chapter of the system is designed to help you reclaim that seat. One exercise, 1 week, 1 degree of mental control at a time. The later lessons build towards something that Hanel considers the highest realization. That individual mind and universal mind are one. Your capacity to think is the universal capacity to create, localized in you. When you hold an image with clarity and feeling, you're participating in the same creative process that formed galaxies. The scale differs. The principle is identical, and the substance, that infinite, responsive, intelligent medium, is waiting for your clear instruction the way a calm lake waits for a stone. Drop the stone, watch the ripples. The tangible results Hanel promises come from this understanding lived daily. Thought impressed upon substance becomes form. Health, wealth, relationships, creative expression, all of them are condensations of mental states held long enough and clearly enough to crystallize into matter. The invisible cause precedes the visible effect every time, without exception. Your one task, the only task the master key system truly asks of you, is to master the instrument through which creation flows. Your mind. Sit with it, train it, direct it, hold the image until the substance has no choice but to conform. Hanel spent 24 chapters saying this in increasingly precise ways, because he knew you'd resist it. He knew you'd want a shortcut. He knew you'd try 3 days of visualization and then check the mailbox for your miracle. The mailbox is the last place it shows up. The first place is the quiet room where you sit, eyes closed, building a world inside your mind, with the patience of someone who understands that every cathedral began as a single sustained thought held against every reason to quit. Your cathedral is under construction right now. The blueprint is the image you hold tonight before you fall asleep. Hold it clearly. Hold it calmly. The substance is already responding.